Hi, I'm Dr. Victor Youcha. I'm a chiropractor practicing in Mexico at Centro Quiropráctico y de Bienestar Chiropractic and Wellness Center in Ajijic, Jalisco. Thank you for visiting my website. The purpose of this video is to explain some principles about your spine in order to help you to enjoy a better aging process in relation to your spine and movement. The way I practice chiropractic is directed at restoring mobility and function to both alleviate pain and improve your function and your ability to enjoy the things in your life that you would like to do. In this video today, I will show you some principles of posture, of how to sit, stand, and lift and carry, and do some things that will help you to strengthen your back. We're in a world right now where the knowledge of biomechanics and the science of movement has really advanced, especially since I have been in chiropractic practice. We're able now to understand the degenerative process. Degeneration in the spine, otherwise known as osteoarthritis, as well as degeneration in the other principal joints in the body, such as the hip, the knee, the shoulder, various joints in the body, especially in the spine, is well understood now as a process towards stabilization. This stabilization is the result of unstable and malfunctioning joints or joint dysfunction. We understand that joint dysfunction actually means poor strategies of compression. What does poor strategies of compression mean? Poor strategies of compression means that we are not loading or putting our weight on the joints in a way that the joint is designed to carry our body's weight. And so therefore, we need to consider our posture. We need to consider which muscles are activated, because muscles move and compress joints. So we have this idea when we talk about compression strategies and loading the joints properly, we need to think, number one, about our posture. How we stand, how we sit, how we move, what we pay attention to. For example, if we hold our head in front of our gravity line, we're changing the way we compress the joints in the spine and in the upper back. We need to be aware and conscious of where we are. Good compression strategies means that we hold our head within the axis of gravity. We need to maintain our body over our center of gravity, including the head. For every inch you carry your head in front of your gravity line, the head weighs 10 more pounds on the spine. If you will observe yourself and the people around you, many people are carrying their head significantly in front of their gravity line. As we speak of compression strategies for your spine, what you need to understand that good posture is a conscious decision. Nobody has good posture without deciding to be upright. Unfortunately, if we have had bad posture for a long time, the body changes. Your body will change according to the demands you put on it. We talk about in biomechanics a principle called SAID, specific adaptation to an imposed demand. So if I stay slouched over like this for an extended period of time, my tissues will change. The tissues in the front of the body, including the fronts of the discs, and the ligaments in the front of the body, and the muscles in the front of the body, and the fascia in the front of the body will shorten and tighten. The muscles in the back will stretch. They will be inactivated because essentially we are hanging on these muscles. In order to rehabilitate the spine, in order for you to have a good recovery from your spinal dysfunctions, it's important, number one, is to remember to be upright, to activate your muscles, and also to strengthen your muscles. The simple act of coming upright engages the muscles of stability and posture. Today I'm going to teach you a little bit about the anatomy of the spine so that you understand what good posture is and how to carry your body and understand a little bit about how the spine works. So I'm going to take the spine right now and give you a little anatomy lesson. we have the spine and pelvis that chiropractors are principally concerned with. We're not only concerned with the spine, we're concerned with something that we call kinetic chains. So we're interested in how your body operates from your feet all the way up as it influences the function of the spine and the nervous system. Our spine is an apparatus that is rich in what we call mechanoreceptors, little sensors that tell us where you are in space and your position. And so the spine and pelvis is consisted of the innominate bones, otherwise known as the iliac, the ischium, and the pubis, connected to the sacrum. The sacrum is the base upon which the spine and the lumbar spine sits upon. The lumbar spine forms a normal curve that is called the lordosis. If we maintain a normal lordosis, we keep the pressure on the discs so that they do not dehydrate, so that they do not degenerate, so that they don't develop herniations. It's extremely important that we bear the weight on what we call the articular pillars of the body. The articular pillars of the body start down at the feet under the ankles. So your heel is the beginning of the articular pillar, then up the legs, and then through what we call the articular pillar of the spine, these facet joints. The discs are supposed to function as shock absorbers, not completely weight bearers. Yes, they will bear a little bit of weight, and they give the spine a bit of flexibility. So we have the lumbar spine, we have the thoracic spine, which has a curve called the kyphosis, and then we have the cervical spine, which also reproduces the curve of the lumbar spine called the lordosis. It's extremely important that we work towards maintaining these curves. If we will maintain the lumbar lordosis properly, it will help us to maintain our heads above the center of gravity. As I explained earlier, for every inch you carry your head in front of the gravity line, it weighs 10 more pounds on your spine. I would like you to understand that we are obviously not just a bare skeleton. Every vertebra is connected by ligaments and by muscles. And it's very important that we understand that the muscles not only move the spine, but provide stability. Now, if we are in bad posture and hanging on our muscles, in a slouchy posture, for example, where we're compressing the discs, the muscles of stability of the spine are not activated. We want to activate the spine by consciously being in a good upright posture. There are very deep muscles of the spine which are extremely important in providing the stability. If we are sitting and slouching and opening up the joints improperly by hanging and stretching out these muscles undergo fatty degeneration. These deep stabilizing muscles are extremely important. Later on in some of the videos that we'll be filming, I'll be showing you some exercises that will help to reestablish these muscles of stability. We think now for the spine about the posterior kinetic chain and the posterior chain muscles that we use in our lifting and in our function and in our stability, the other part of what we call the core. The core consists of the abdomen and the back muscles. It's extremely important for stability and good health to maintain the strength of the core muscles. This will prevent you as you're aging from falls. We're interested in something that is called reactive stability. So if maybe we have a slight misstep, we're not going to fall down. Or if we pick something else up, we're not going to injure ourselves. The biggest creator of difficulty for our spines this way are our lifestyles in how we spend so much time sitting and bending forward. What happens in sitting, if we're not conscious of our posture, is we're sitting in a slumped posture and not maintaining the curve of the lumbar spine. Now, there's lots of scientific evidence to say that sitting for prolonged periods of time is no good for any organ of our body, not good for our circulation, and very specifically not good for the function of our spine and pelvis. The worse posture we are, seated in, the more problems we can expect, especially the longer periods of time that we sit. We understand that sitting for prolonged periods of time in bad posture creates numerous problems in the spine, especially if we sit holding our head way in front of our gravity line. This kind of posture. And many people are seated in front of the computer all day, are washing dishes, bent over. Many of our activities have us bend forward in bad posture at our desks, at the sink, and we need to then learn basic principles of how to operate and how to be good spine owners. What we now know is that if we consciously maintain our lumbar curve when we're sitting, standing, lifting, carrying, that our spines are in a safer position. We talk about joint positions that are unstable when the joints are opened up and we bend over improperly, not maintaining the curve. If we learn how to bend and lift by closing the joints are much more stable. The stabilizing muscles are activated. We're not hanging on them. We're not compressing and loading and squeezing the discs. We're in a much safer position to operate. So what we now talk about is working and bending forward from the hinge of the hip, the hip hinge. I'm going to demonstrate to you proper hip hinging, proper sitting, proper standing, and lifting. I'm going to put the spine away in order to do that. I want you to understand a bit about proper posture. And in proper posture, we are carrying our heads over our center of gravity, not out in front of us. Now, when we consider hinging from the hips, if we're going to bend over forward, then what we need to maintain the curve in our lower back, and the hip functions as a hinge or axis of rotation. So we're going to bend forward from the hips. We are never going to bend forward using the individual vertebra as hinges. This is important. If I bend forward, hinging from the hips, my disc spaces are opened up, they're not compressed, the muscles are activated in the lower back, providing stability. I am not going to hurt myself. If I'm picking something up, then it's especially important that I actually take another step to further activate my muscles of stability, and that's a conscious decision to tighten my muscles. If you will tighten your muscles while you're maintaining this curve in your lower back, when you bend to lift something or even make the bed with the muscles consciously tight, you will protect your back. This is actually your internal girdle, activating the muscles of the abdomen that connect to the spine. Later on, I'm going to show you some exercises to help wake these muscles up and be stronger to provide greater stability. If you have these muscles more reactive and awake, it will also be useful in helping you to prevent falls and injuries from whatever you want to do. Earlier on, I said something about reactive stability. And this is a step. Today we're going to take a step towards helping you to get some reactive stability and protect your spine. So if we want to talk about the results of bad posture, we need to consider the fact that the whole body operates as a unit. No part of the body is separated from the rest of the body. We're connected by planes of fascia, sheets of this connective tissue. So if we're having bad posture, we can have problems all the way down to the feet. If we're leaned over forward, we're essentially holding our body weight up with our forefoot and our toes. This results in hammer toes, plantar fasciitis, bunions, all kinds of issues from the feet all the way on up. So it's very important. One of the important principles to understand is that we need to bear our body weight over the articular pillar. That means that we're going to carry 2/3 of the weight on our heels. Instead of being forward, if you'll be aware of carrying the weight over your heels instead of on your forefoot, you're going to benefit and be more aware of your posture. So I want you, when you get a chance to, put your mind's eye in your feet, stand up straight, and bear the weight over your heels. This is a very good place to begin, and you can see that as I'm bearing my weight over my heels, I'm in an upright posture. I'm maintaining a little bit of lumbar lordosis. That automatically puts my head over my center of gravity. And once again, if I'm bending to lift or carry something, I'm putting the hinge at the hip and the curve in my lower back, and if I'm picking up something that's heavy, I've activated my abdominal muscles. So I'm going to show you how to lift something heavy. This is not extremely heavy. Actually, this principle goes even if you're going to lift something that's somewhat light. Even a piece of paper off the floor, if you will bend over from the hip hinge, you will protect your back. So I'm going to pick up this weight that I use for exercise, and I'm going to lift it up properly. First thing I'm going to do is set myself. I'm going to be aware of the position of my back, and I'm going to tighten my abdominal muscles and even tighten the muscles of my buttocks. I'm going to bend over from the hip hinge, and I'm still going to keep 80% of the weight on my heels, and I'm going to pick this up with my back and with my knees. And this is a proper lift, and I'm going to do the same thing in reverse to put this heavy weight down. Now I exercise with these weights, and every time I lift that weight up, or sometimes two of them, I do the exact same thing. I always maintain the tightness of my abdominal muscles. I call that my internal girdle. You will see many people put these funny girdles on. You'll go in the grocery store and the packers or the lifters have these girdles. They're completely not useful. The most useful girdle you have is your muscle girdle here in your abdomen. If you will contract them, you have the best God-given girdle available. I would like to show you first bad sitting, and then I will show you proper sitting. Right now you can see that I'm sitting in a slouchy posture. Many people, the longer time they spend seated, wind up slouching and slouching and slouching. Now what this actually does is if you remember the spine that I showed you, this compresses the discs, stretches out the muscles in the back. It also shortens up the muscles in the front of the body, including the muscles that we use to operate our legs that we call the hip flexors. The more time we spend seated, the shorter and tighter these muscles become, restricting our ability to be upright. So some of our exercises that we'll show later will help you to stretch the front of the body. Chiropractic treatment is directed as well as reversing the changes that are the result of long sitting postures. A proper sitting posture then is getting oneself upright, maintaining the curve in the lower back. Very often we would like to have a chair that puts some support in the lumbar area, but the first most important part of sitting properly is here, remembering that this is where we need to be. You could put a pillow in the back and still slouch against the pillow. So first, good posture is a decision. So this is a good upright posture. You can see that my head is centered over my spine and over my shoulders. The ears are over the shoulders. Now, if I need to work in the computer screen, or if I need to do something at the desk that's imaginarily in front of me, instead of working like this and slouching, I'm going to lean forward from the hip hinge and maintain my spinal curvature and maintain my alignment. Alignment is a decision. A chiropractor does not align your spine. A chiropractor restores mobility to the spine so that you may align yourself and activate your muscles. Your muscles like to be used, not hung upon. So I'm standing now. Now I'd like to start presenting some of the movements and exercises that will help you to recover from the effects of bad seated postures, bad standing postures. We're going to start doing some extension exercises. These extension exercises are also known as the Mckenzie low back exercises. I frequently prescribe these exercises to my patients. They will help to relieve, very often, a pinched sciatic nerve that's the result of a disc herniation. Sometimes if we begin these extension exercises, we may notice a phenomena known as centralization of pain to the spine. This can be a very good thing. It might indicate that you need some chiropractic treatment to help you to overcome this centralization, to help us to decompress the disc. Taking the weight off the disc and improving the flexibility, stretching out the front of the body is a main goal of this exercise. So extension exercises really begin with putting our hands in the small of our back so we can localize the area that we're stretching, and we just want to bend backwards. And we want to bend backwards. This is a good thing to do every 15 minutes if we're spending the day sitting. We don't want to sit for periods of more than 15 minutes, so we get up and we do a few backward bends. This will prevent, very often, problems in the lower back. Extending back. Also, if we catch ourselves slouching forward, a good stretch will be interlace your fingers together, turn the hand around, and again, this helps to stretch and open up the disc spaces in the upper back. A few seconds, a few seconds. Now I'm going to change to the Mckenzie exercise for the lower back lying on the floor. Now I'm going to present to you the continuation of the trunk extension exercises that we started in the standing position. In fact, the extension exercises lying on your stomach are more effective for treating things like lumbar disc herniations with sciatic nerve impingement, with leg pain as a result of a disc bulge. And so this position that I'm in right now is known as the Sphinx Pose from yoga. It's also a beginning Mckenzie trunk extension exercise. It's easier. You may still, depending on the rigidity of your spine, experience a centralization or pain on your spine. This will indicate that you will probably need some chiropractic treatment directed at restoring mobility, and you'll do this exercise in small doses. Back off from the stretch, come up to the stretch, looking straight ahead, your head not up too high, and you can come down and come up. And if you're comfortable in this position, you can start to increase the amount of stretching by pushing up. And it's very important that when you're in this position to be sure that your buttock muscles are relaxed. And then we'll move into the fuller Mckenzie trunk extension, again focusing on having the buttock muscles relaxed, and you can hold that for a few seconds. Again, it may increase the pain in your spine. The goal of this, aside from stretching the fronts of the discs and the ligaments in the front of the spine and the muscles in the front of your body, is to take the pressure off the nerve. Sometimes this position can cause excruciating pain into the leg, then we can't do this exercise. The goal is to eliminate leg symptoms, eliminate numbness and tingling. But if it really drastically increases it, then we have to back off and find some other appropriate exercises. The new science is really pointing to the fact that extension is the exercise that we need most, and we need to strengthen the muscles of extension in our back. So I'm going to move right into the Superman trunk extension exercise. First, just lifting the upper part of our body. The ultimate goal is to raise both legs. Then we're going to move into We do this one on either side. And we can add in the opposite leg. You can breathe in as we come up, breathe out as we go down. Earlier I showed you the cobra, which is a full extension. Now you should know that you should be able to improve the cobra by getting up on your toes, and you can include a hip flexor stretch by just moving from one side to the other. Very simply. This is especially good stretch for the hip flexors if you're going to be doing some strength training. And then you just come down gently. Now I would like to show you a hip flexor stretch, otherwise known as the iliopsoas or psoas stretch, that helps to reverse the negative effects of sitting. Now, sitting tends to make the muscles in the front of the body shorter, even if we sit in good posture. So we're going to be stretching the hip flexors in my right leg, and so what I will be doing is basically tilting my pelvis upward till I feel a nice stretch in here in the hip flexors. I can increase that stretch by raising my arm up over my head and get that stretch. Now, a false hip flexor stretch is one that many people see runners do, and you don't want to do this. This is not a very useful stretch for the hip flexors. So we're going to be in this position over or slightly behind our knee. Sometimes you'll need a cushion under your knee. And we have modifications of this exercise if you are unable to get on a knee. And again, it's with the arm over the head increases the stretch. Now here is a standing version of a hip flexor stretch that spread apart with my foot in front of my knee, and I'm going to bend my knee a little bit. I'm going to come straight ahead, and I'm going to lean back, and I'm going to bring my arms back. And actually, we'll show you this from the front. I'm going to tilt to increase the stretch in my hip flexor muscles. I feel this in here. And we just hold it for 15 seconds. Now I'm going to move in the forward lunge, standing with a front view on the opposite leg. And so important is to note that the knee does not go in front of the ankle. The knee is slightly behind, and I have like a scissoring effect, and I'll move into the stretch, and I'm going to side bend to the side of the forward leg. And the goal is 15 seconds. And you can see that I'm also in a very good position with my back, with some lumbar extension. Now I would like to show you some more exercises that I will be doing on the floor. The goal will be to strengthen the core of your body, the stabilizing muscles that help to support the spine. We're going to do a series of bridges. We're going to do the upright bridge, the side bridge, and what's called the plank. And these are very important. They're actually full body strengthening exercises. Some people might have difficulty if they're having shoulder issues to do this. But otherwise, I'm going to show you the simple bridges. I won't show you the complicated bridges at this time. So I'm going to get down. First, I'm going to show you the plank, also called the inverted bridge. So this is the first bridge that I want to show you. This is an important abdominal strengthening exercise, much better than doing sit-ups and crunches. And there are variations of this very same bridge, or otherwise known in yoga as the plank. Now, some people can only hold it for a few seconds. It's important that you begin where you are with these exercises. And I'll show you a couple of versions. The full plank is in this position. You hold it for as long as you can. Some of you will not be able to do the full plank because you are significantly deconditioned. Then you might want to do the plank while you're up on just on your knees. You bend your legs and come up, and this is a much easier plank. It's important when you do either of these planks that you contract all of your muscles in your buttocks and in your abdomen. Now, a harder version of the full plank is to be in the position and actually try and force your elbows towards your feet. It's a much more effective abdominal strengthening exercise. And then another important bridge is the side bridge. We have two versions of the side bridge. There are actually three versions. One is all the way up on your hands, but we're not going to show that today. We're going to show you the full side bridge, which is this position. The goal ultimately is to be able to do this for 90 seconds. So you do it as long as you can, or you can do 30-second stretches of them and do 3 of them. If you cannot accomplish the full side bridge, then what you will do is you will bend your knees, just as we did in the prone plank, and get up on your knees again and hold a bridge like this. Side bridge. The side bridge is done on both sides. Inability to do a good side bridge is a good prognosticator of a very weak back and a tendency towards back problems and back pain. I'm going to show you another very special exercises that helps to strengthen the very fine muscles in your lower back that provide stability to your spine. And this is called a pointer dog exercise. And we're doing this pointer dog balancing on one knee and the opposite foot at the same time. And this exercise, we're going to reach as far forward and back as we can with the heel and the palm of our hand. And so this is the pointer dog. Reaching, reaching, reaching. This activates the deep muscles of extension and the gluteal muscles all together. So I'm concentrating on tightening my buttocks, reaching, 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 reaching. And you repeat that 10 times on each side, if you can. Practicar con ellos en inglés. No, solamente